Four things I noticed when I stopped identifying with my thoughts and I started observing my thoughts. I became an observer of my thinking mind. And I've talked about this in previous videos that if you want to free yourself from negativity, from negative thoughts, from intrusive thoughts, anxiety, you have to learn how to observe that thinking mind instead of identifying with every thought you have. For example, the difference is if you say something like, I am going to fail that exam, right? That is identifying with the thought. You've already declared it. But if you're an observing person, if you're observing your thinking mind, you're going to say, I am having a thought that I am going to fail this exam. Now, once you can detach from it, you can observe it, you can question it. Is this true? Where is the evidence? And so on and so forth. So it's important to become an observer of your thinking mind if you want to conquer those negative thoughts. Here are four things I noticed. The first thing I noticed when I started observing my thoughts is that most of our thoughts are negative. There was a night I couldn't sleep. I was lying there tossing and turning, and I started observing my thoughts. Negative, 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 constantly just negative thoughts. This is why it's important to become an observer, because when you observe, you can see the pattern and you can start to do something about it. Number two, the randomness and continuity of our thoughts. How random and how continuous we have thoughts. We can lie there and just be having random thoughts, one about something that happened 20 years ago, then about your food list, then about what you're doing tomorrow, then about, it just goes round and round. Again, important to observe, because when you observe, you can distance yourself from these thoughts. This is just the thinking mind. You don't need to identify with it. You don't even need to interrogate those kind of random thoughts. They mean nothing. Number three, repetitive. A lot of our thoughts are repetitive. We're having the same thoughts day after day after day. Now, the key thing about repetitive thoughts is that they are telling you something. When you have the same thoughts over and over again, it's either becomes something you've interacted with so often, your brain thinks, they love this, right? Even if it's a negative thing. Or your belief system aligns with that thought somehow. You convinced yourself that that thought is true, even if it's not. So again, identifying it means you can then start to look at the pattern and change those behaviors. And the final thing I noticed about my thoughts were how much of my thinking is spent either in the past or in the future. And this is what many of us do. Life happens in the present, in the here and now. And yet, so many of us are spending most of our thinking time in the past, worrying about something that happened in the past, or anxious about something that's going to happen in the future. That doesn't exist. So learn to observe your mind.